we are pleased to provide an update on the Adequate Housing and Urban Accessibility Program. This is a program that is being financed, of course, through a loan to the government of Guyana from the Inter-American Development Bank. The program is being implemented by the Ministry of Communities through the Central Housing and Planning Authority. The Adequate Housing and Urban Accessibility Program has three components. Component 1 deals with adequate and affordable housing. Component 2 addresses the consolidation of existing schemes. And Component 3 looks at institutional strengthening of the CHNPA and local democratic organs within the project boundary. The project boundary spans the areas of Georgetown to Grove on the East Bank, Georgetown to LBI on the East Coast, and the communities of Westminster, Rekdorsey, Onderneming, Luston Rust, and Parfait Harmony Phase 2 in Region 3. The component that we will be speaking to today is Component 1, which is to the implementation of core home support and the home improvement subsidy. We will be doing 250 core homes and disbursing 2,000 home improvement subsidies on. We opened for applications on November 1st, 2018, and the application period closes on February 1, 2019. And one of the concerns that we have had has been that while persons have been responding to uplifting applications from the time we opened, there was a pretty slow return rate of applications. We have made applications available at all the local democratic organs within the project boundary, as well as at the CHNPA head office. So in response to the slow return rate of applications, we have taken an approach to get the applications closer to the communities. So we have implemented a total of 5 outreach activities over the last weekend. We were at Stabroek on Friday. On Saturday, we went to LBI. We also would have had outreaches at Eccles and Samata Point. And on Sunday, we had outreaches at the within the Mocha Arcadia NDC, and also at the Parfait Harmony Primary School. This has resulted in an increase in the applications being issued once again. We would have seen a total of 413 applications coming in directly from those outreaches, which has brought us up to a total of 1,770 applications returned to date. Not returned, sorry, but issued. 1,770 applications issued across the program. In terms of the total number of applications returned, to date we would have been in receipt of a total of 503 applications. We would have seen an increase of just about 65 applications as a result of the outreaches in terms of the return rate. And this is so because many of the persons returning their application forms did not have the required documentation. And so they were referred to visit the central office when they have collected and updated their documentation accordingly. So we are pleased to see the improvement in the return rate of applications, but are still urging more persons to be able to pursue this aggressively and have their documentation up to date. So for the home improvement subsidy, which basically entails a government grant of up to $500,000 worth in building materials to effect improvement works to the homes of low-income households, we have found that the rate of response for this particular subsidy is greater than for the core. all right, we find that it's about 40% greater. We find having has to do with the ownership of the ownership documents being provided by applicants. We find very often, especially in areas that were not developed by the CHNPA, which fall within the project boundary, we are finding that applicants very often do not have ownership documents for the plot of land that they are occupying. And one of the requirements of the program is that you present ownership documents in the form of a title or transport where it exists. Once there is an agreement of sale, for instance, we would consider some of those documents.
Piece of documentation. Now, can they come in here and get the information and proceed with such?
Yes, especially in areas that are developed by CHNPA, we would have the information to be able to advise them on what to do and how to proceed in the direction of obtaining the title.
Because most of the questions coming from persons is that knowing that they don't have the documentation, they, refuse coming in and getting the information or even trying to make an effort to get these things. That's most of the person's excuses that I don't want this because I know I don't have the documentation. So putting that out there, there is assistance inside here.
Yes, there is.
Can I say something? For most of the persons applying for, especially for the poor home, these are persons who more than likely would have had their titles
And
already. You need to own the plot of land. So in most instances, they have either their title document or they have their agreement of sale. Some persons would have recently completed paying off for their lands. So those are things that we are working through, and they would have that information. For persons who do not have land, they probably would face a challenge.
And for the core home program, this is being implemented only in housing areas that have been developed or regularized by CHNPA. And so for persons to become eligible for that program as well as the home improvement, they must have completed payment for their lot. And as long as the payment has been completed for the house lot allocated by CHNPA, the titling process begins. And so that is why we would accept, in the cases of areas developed by CHNPA, an agreement of sale, because that initiates the titling process. So we know that that title is in process and it will be soon remitted to the applicant or the owner of the plot of land. Yes.
When is the deadline again?
February 1 is the deadline, the closing time for the applications that are to be returned or issued. Yeah.
Would there be a reopening of applications so many times in the future?
At this time, no. There hasn't been any discussion around that. The intention is to have all the applications come in by the 1st of February. And should there be a reopening of applications, it will be made public. Yes.
Yeah, I was just wanting you to know about the part you said that it's for only areas recognized by CHNPA.
So for the core home support, this is intended for housing areas that have been developed or regularized by CHNPA within the project boundary. However, for the home improvement subsidy, that spans a wider area. So it's any area that falls within the project boundary, any low-income area that falls within the project boundary can participate in in the home improvement program. You do not have to be issued a plot of land by CHNPA, but you must be the owner of the lot that you are applying, the property that you are applying for us to assist you to improve. You must own it and you must be living on that lot. Within the boundary. Again, we'd like to emphasize that this program targets low-income households, and those are households that earn a total household income of $75,000 or below within the project boundary.
So if they're not within the project boundary, but they are still a low-income home, is there any form of investigation that you carry out to see if the person is in need of the assistance?
Well, our process dictates that the person applies, they bring in the documentation, so we validate that what they're claiming on their application form is true at the level of documentation. We conduct an interview, then every eligible household who's been established as eligible based on the documentation receives what we call a verification visit. We actually go to the homes of the individuals and visit where they're living, assess their housing conditions, verify the information that they have provided. If a person is outside of the project boundary, then we would not be able to take them to the next stage. So at the point when the application comes in, we will be able to issue them with a letter that says you are not eligible at this point because you fall outside of the project boundary.
So from Georgetown
to Grove,
from Grove to Georgetown and Georgetown to
LBI.
That is within the project.
That's within the project boundary, along with the housing areas of Onderneming, Westminster, Rec Dorsey, Parfait Harmony Phase 2, and Luston Ross in Region 3. And of course, the entire Georgetown.
Now, I'm trying questions actually that I'm hearing from the streets.
Absolutely,
right?
sure.
Is that a lot of people believe, yes, it's a great project, but what's going to happen for those who are not within the project boundary, like for example, further up to LBI, Better those kind of areas. Am I right? No, Better is within that area. Further than LBI, right? What's going on with those people? Are we going to see that for the, anything coming in the future for them, or it's just right now it's just from LBI Grove?
At this time, the scope of the Adequate Housing and Urban Accessibility Program fits the boundaries mentioned. It does not go beyond those boundaries at this point in time. As you would know, projects' finances are finite, and so this is as far as we can accommodate at this time.
Don't I be able to say when the verification process starts and when it closes?
The verification process, which has to do with the house-to-house visits, has already commenced. This is being done simultaneously along with the application period, and we're doing this in order to enable a faster rate of processing of applications. We intend to have persons be informed of the outcome of their applications. Once you pass the first stage of eligibility, we would be able to indicate to you whether or not you have been selected between July to August of 2019. And the process has to be extensive because, as I mentioned, we have to visit the homes of every eligible person to be able to assess their conditions. After that visit is done, then we have to go through a process of prioritizing persons based on the information provided so that we target the most vulnerable to benefit from these interventions.
I'm not sure if I'm permitted to ask, but I'm curious to know if what's happening within central government, if it will affect this particular area. Let's say just in the event that elections are in the midst.
She will not be able to answer that question.
So
That would be a
you
question
can
for the
answer.
minister.
With the right documentation, you have your title and everything, you apply, it's returned, and with the visitation and so forth, everybody's on track. How long will it take before the final? Let's say I'm doing this. Is it 6 weeks, 3 weeks, and everything will be fine? How long?
So that's why I'm saying they will hear from us by August, by August 2019.
Okay.
Yes.
And then we treat it starting everyone at once.
No, there's a prioritization process that will take place, and we assess you based on your level of vulnerability. So the greater the level of vulnerability, the higher your score. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Donnell, you have some figures. If you could give us a breakdown.
Okay.
Still very interesting.
So all residents living in the boundaries of Georgetown to LBI, we have our second East Coast Outreach taking place this Sunday at Pleasance Market from 10 to 4. If you're living in the Parfait Harmony, because of the turnout, we had a great turnout last weekend at Parfait, and we had to refer persons to call them. We are coming back to Parfait Harmony at the primary school this Sunday also from 10 to 4. Sophia residents, we will be at the Section C Tarmac this Saturday from 10 to 4 as well. And we will also be at Kitty Market from 10 to 4 for those persons who are living in that part of Georgetown. So we urge you to take full advantage of the outreaches. In the meantime, we are still open every day, Monday to Friday, at CHNPA to issue and receive forms. We have also increased our complement of interviewers so that we can make the process a bit more efficient. So feel free to come on down to CHNPA or to take full advantage of the outreaches that are closer to you. Thank you very much.